Before I start, sorry this is my third S10 Plus video in a row. A lot of people have been getting on me about that, but I mean, come on, it's a cool phone, right? So this year, the S10 lineup was one of the biggest design changes in a Samsung smartphone ever. I mean, like size-wise, software-wise, display-wise, and the part we're talking about today, the cameras. On the S9 Plus, there's 3 total cameras, and on the S10 Plus, there's 5 total cameras, adding 1 to the back and 1 to the front. There's also so many different camera modes, I just felt I needed to make a video on them. If you weren't sure already, the Galaxy S10 Plus is Samsung's newest phone from their S lineup. However, they're not the newest because the new phones from the Note lineup just dropped, the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. But this phone is just pretty much amazing. If you want to watch my full review on the phone, it's my last video. I'm pretty sure you know how to get to it from here. Basically, I've been places and taken many pictures with the phone since I got it in early July, and I figured I've probably got plenty and definitely some from each camera mode to show you guys. I'll start with the back cameras, then I'll make my way to the front ones after showing every mode and feature. On the back of the phone, there are 3 cameras, a 12 megapixel f1.5 to 2.4 26mm OIS main, a 12 megapixel f2.4 52mm OIS telephoto, and a 16 megapixel f2.2 12mm ultra wide. Without taking any longer, I'll start on the first mode of the back cameras, just this simple, regular camera app you probably take 80% of your pictures with. This camera, while it's not a huge step up from the S9 and S9 Plus, which already had great cameras, it's still a step. But of course, since it's a Samsung phone, you just know the photos are going to be slightly overexposed and still pretty saturated. But to me, they look great because I love saturation. I even feel like the slight overexposing makes the photos look slightly more professional. Anyone else? No? Yeah, that's what I thought. The dynamic range on the phone is pretty much the best I've ever seen on a smartphone, especially coming from my old Moto. The photos are very sharp and clear, but they also kind of look really Samsung-y, if you know what I mean. But again, I kind of like that. There's also a telephoto mode, which is a 2x zoom and obviously looks pretty much the same as the main camera. But then we get to the ultra-wide camera. It's like the most fun experience I've ever had using a smartphone's camera before. It's just so much wider than any other ultra-wide cameras on smartphones. You can just fit so much more into your photos. For example, when you travel somewhere and there's amazing view, but it stretches way across the horizon, and you just don't know where to take the picture so it'll look best, well, use your ultra-wide mode. You can fit all of it. For some context, a normal camera is usually 18 or 24 millimeters, and the main camera on this phone is 26 millimeters zoomed. The next mode, and keep in mind most modes also have the ability to use the ultra-wide camera, and then I guess if you zoom in, they'll switch to the telephoto automatically. And since they can use the ultra-wide, it just makes them even more fun. So the next mode is live focus mode, otherwise known as portrait, made famous by the iPhone. The edge detection, however, on the Galaxy S10 Plus is very good. Definitely better than the iPhone. I mean, it is newer. And we'll see what the iPhone 11 has. There's just a very clear line of what's in focus and what's not. As if a regular blur isn't enough, there's 4 different portrait mode presets. I'll show all of them on the screen. The next camera mode is Pro mode, which is where you can adjust things like the saturation and contrast so you don't have to edit your photo afterwards. This mode I actually don't use very often because if I wanted to edit my photo, it would probably mean that I wanted to post it on Instagram as well, and the Instagram editor is actually not bad at all. The Pro mode is still fun to use in the sense that it makes your photos look completely fake. Swiping to the left again, you'll come to Panorama, which is a very good panorama. Unlike my last phone, the Moto Z Play Droid, it's really embarrassing to say. Panorama on this phone is actually 360 degrees. It's also a very good panorama. There's no like hiccups in it, I guess. It's all one smooth photo, like you're looking on Google Earth Street View. The next mode is night mode, and this is, well, not good at all. The S10 Plus is running on Samsung's Exynos 9820 chip. Have had it for a while now, and it's probably much better, but those that are running on the US version Snapdragon 855 just got night mode, like a couple weeks ago, with Samsung's not very often software updates. Obviously, it needs a lot of improvements, as every shot I took with it was blurry. I took 2 because it just came out. But I feel confident that Samsung will figure it out in the near or maybe far future. At least there's a lot more light with rather than without night mode. On the left of that, there's food mode. Anyway, it works on things other than food. This flower was taken in food mode, so after that, there's just a mode that lets you take photos and export them directly to Instagram. This is nice, but why wouldn't you just want to go on Instagram instead? It doesn't really make that much sense. Now let's talk about the multiple video modes the Galaxy S10 Plus has to offer. Well, it doesn't have live focus video, which is pretty cool. Something the S10 5G and the new Note phones have. It still has Samsung's super slow-mo, which films slow motion at 960 frames per second. But it can only record like 5 seconds. I understand. That's enough. The first video mode I'll talk about is just the regular video mode. It looks amazing. Films in 4K 60 FPS, which is pretty much expected and is top of the line for a smartphone. Especially since this smartphone is $1,000. It should definitely have 4K 60 FPS video. And because it films in 4K 60 FPS, this is why I'm gonna experiment filming on this phone for maybe a couple videos to see how I like it. I will start that whenever I get a microphone adapter, because I don't have one right now. Well, this mode is just probably one of the best videos that can be taken on a smartphone today. We'll see how the iPhone does. The thing that really isn't great though is that you can't take ultra-wide video. I can understand though, because when you move the camera around while in ultra-wide, everything becomes distorted and looks very odd. So that's probably why you can't. I pretty much already explained the super slow-mo 960 FPS, but the slow-mo I believe is 480 FPS. That's what I assume. Then last of all, there's hyperlapse. It's a time-lapse mode. I think you know what that is. For the last section of the video, I'm going to talk about the front cameras. This year, there's been a massive upgrade to Samsung's front cameras. Instead of one camera, like pretty much every phone nowadays, iPhone, there's actually two. The main camera is a 10 megapixel f1.9 at 26 millimeters, and there's also an 8 megapixel f2.2 depth sensor next to that. The depth sensor means that the edge detection on portrait mode will now be top notch. Again, I'll start with the main selfie camera, like the regular mode, I guess, that you take 80% of your pictures with. It's good. It's great actually, just like you'd expect. Obviously, it's the same thing. Definitely still a lot of overexposing and a lot of oversaturating, still keeping the theme of looking very Samsung-y. There's also an ultra-wide-angle lens, which looks like you could fit about 1/4 more people. So you know that time when like you really need to fit you and your friend in the selfie, but like only 3/4 of him can fit in the frame? That's when you use the ultra-wide mode. Never happened to me before, but it might. The portrait mode, like I mentioned, is great. There's also still the different 4 portrait mode presets, which look a lot cooler if you use them on the selfie camera. Again, there's still that useless Instagram mode that I'll never use. Then there's video mode. For the first time ever, the front cameras can record in the same quality that the back can. 4K 60 frames per second. This means I could use the front cameras to record videos and it would be the same quality as the back. And I would be able to see myself like a flip out screen on a camera. But I still really don't trust front cameras because I still have an idea that they are a little bit worse. Well, with that, I've gone through all the different camera modes and features. And there were quite a lot. So, I want to know, what do you guys think of the cameras on this $1,000 smartphone? Should they be better? Are they just as you imagined? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to respond to as many people as possible. I stopped the shoutout for the first comment though, so don't try and comment first anymore. If you guys enjoyed the video, a sub and a like would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.